Welcome back to Active Directory Interview Preparation Part 3. Define organizational unit and levels. OU or organizational unit is like a container where you manage your users and computers to organize them. Subdivision within an AD in which you can place users, groups, computers, and other OUs. Each domain can implement its own OU hierarchy. The levels where you can apply policies are: local site level is the top level. For example, when you apply policy on forest level. Domain level is when you apply policy on single domain and all OUs in that domain. OU level is when you apply on specified OU. For example, on certain users or computers. What is KCC and RPC, and explain their functions? KCC stands for Knowledge Consistency Checker. KCC is an object that take care of replication. KCC runs on all domain controllers and creates a replication topology for the forest. By default, the KCC runs at 15-minute intervals and designates the routes between domain controllers. When there are more than one Active Directory site, KCC can automatically create RPC connections. RPC stands for Remote Procedural Call. RPC enables data exchange and request of functionality residing in a different process. That process can be on the same computer, on the local area network, LAN, or across the Internet. The RPC instrument uses other instruments such as named pipes, NetBIOS to establish communications between the client and the server. RPC is used for establish information exchange either from server to server or client to server or vice versa. Define Active Directory sites. Also explain working and importance of sites. Sites are also called geographical location. Collection of subnets. Sites are creating normally for fast login. By default, there is one built-in site in your AD environment which you can delete and expand after. Move the physical DCs to the location any city or country you want and manage them geographically because they are connected with same domain. Intersite replication is a replication within a site domain controller. Whenever new object come in one DC, the KCC use RPC connection object to replicate with another DCs within same site or domain. Intersite replication is a replication between different sites DCs. Site-to-site replication. Following are 4 steps of replicate in intersite. Site link, create link between two sites. Cost, set cost means set the priorities, which site replicate first. If cost is high, priority is low, and if cost is low, priority is high. Schedule, select day and time for replication, when you want exchange data between sites. Interval, set time interval after how much time you want to start replication again. Define site failover. In case of any disaster, if one of your site goes down and stop working, that leads to site failover. In such situations, other sites take over all load and keep business alive. Define bridgehead server. Bridgehead server is a defined one domain controller from each site that represent whole site replication instead on each domain controller replication. By default, one DC in each site is bridgehead server. Define ISDG and different between ISDG and RPC. ISDG stands for Inter-Site Topology Generator. ISDG is also a connection object which helps to replicate and exchange information between site to site, whereas RPC or Remote Procedural Call is used for replication only within one site and domain. Define Active Directory groups and types of groups. Active Directory groups are used to collect user accounts, computer accounts, and other groups into manageable units. Working with groups instead of individual users helps simplify network maintenance and administration. Distribution group, used for bulk emails on Exchange servers. Also called mailing list, collection of contacts. Easy way to send emails to group of people within organization. Security group, allows you to manage users and computers' access to shared resources. Limit the access and control who gets what group policies. The followings are the types of security groups. Domain local group means resource from one domain and user from any domain. Global group means resources from any domain and user from one domain. Universal group means resources from any domain and user from any domain. Define following terms: provisioning and deprovisioning. Provisioning means giving access of resources. Deprovisioning means removing access of resources. What is RODC and working of RODC? RODC stands for Read-Only Domain Controller, used for one-way replication. RODC starts and introduce first in Server 2008 type of DC, which holds a read-only copy of Active Directory database. RODC is used for security purpose or in remote area where bandwidth is low or where poor network connections. Define root tree. Collection of domains is called tree. You can have multiple trees in one forest. When company buy a new company, instead of creating child domain, Microsoft recommends to start a tree root, means another root domain. Company can have multiple trees in the forest. Define forest trust, transitive trust, shortcut trust, realm trust and their structure. Trust means use of resources from one forest to other forest or one domain to another domain. Trust can be one-way or two-way, depending upon company business requirements. Forest trust is a trust between one or more forests. This type of trust is not by default and you have to manually create if required. Forest trust can be one-way or two-way. Transitive trust extends the trust relationships with other domains. Suppose for using third domain resources you have to pass through from middle domain, wherein non-transitive does not allows the trust to flow to any other domains in the forest. Shortcut trust is not by default. Transitive trust between two domains in a forest to improve user log-on time. Will make a trust path shorter between two domains in the same forest. Can be one-way or two-way. For example, trust of one domain to third domain by creating shortcut trust for better performance. Realm trust is also not by default. It can be transitive or non-transitive. This trust helps to create trust relationship between Windows Server domain and any Kerberos version 5 realm. Link between different directory services. What is Kerberos and its use? Kerberos is clients to server communication. This is a service in Active Directory and run in the domain controller. Kerberos trigger when user ask for authentication. If Kerberos are down, user cannot get authentication. This process happens with the help of KDC, Key Distribution Center. What is KDC? Key Distribution Center. When user enter credential, it will go to AS, Authentication Service. Authentication Service will then send client machine encrypted ticket and ask to get it decrypt. The client machine then send the ticket to TGT, ticket generating ticket, and request, here is my ticket, please give me service ticket. TGT decrypt ticket and reply, here is your service ticket, please authenticate. Define functional level and kinds of functional levels. Functional levels determine the available Active Directory domain services, ADDS, domain or forest capabilities. They also determine which Windows Server operating systems you can run on domain controllers in the domain or forest. Functional level defines the feature level of the domain. In Active Directory, we have two types of functional level: domain functional level and forest functional level. Domain functional level, for example, in 2003 domain with 2003 DC, we can have 2008 DC, but we cannot use the features of 2008. For this reason, we have to raise functional level from 2003 to 2008, but there's some limitations. When we have old environment, we can go only one step ahead. Once we raise our functional level, we cannot go back. For example, if we have domain functional level 2000, we can have 2003 DC in the domain, but to use the features of 2003 we have to raise functional level to 2003. Forest functional level minimum domain level in the forest will be the forest functional level. What is migration and types of migration? The Microsoft Active Directory Migration Tool, ADMT, is a free utility that administrator can use to move Active Directory objects, such as computers, users, and groups, from one Windows Server Active Directory domain or forest to another. Company can choose in-place migration or side-by-side migration depends upon company structure and requirements.